Yeah, that's enough of that. The Star Trek reboot worked for a number of reasons, one of which being it made a conscious shift towards using a younger cast. It still, however, tied itself in with the original crew and paid respect to the characters themselves by being true to who they were. Star Wars could learn something from this. Now, I'm not talking about making it a younger, sexier, more edgy cast. That would be a horrible mistake. I'm talking about creating some new and interesting characters worthy of taking on the mantle from the original team. Unfortunately, these actors are getting older, which means they are incapable of doing the things they used to, and it would be unrealistic to fabricate scenarios which demonstrates them being as spry as they were in their 20s and 30s. Even Luke, a Jedi, would slow down with time, as seen in Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda. But not Dooku, for some reason, even though I'm fairly certain Fred Flintstone bought his cast secondhand from Christopher Lee. This isn't to say the original cast shouldn't be included. They absolutely should be. It would be a tragedy if they weren't, but they should take on more secondary roles. Luke and Leia could be Jedi Council members or something, and Han Solo could be a senator. That's a terrible idea, I know, but I like the idea of a 70-year-old Han Solo heckling Parliament like one of those old guys from the Muppets. Additionally, just because someone's alive or a character that appeared in the other movies doesn't mean they have to come back. But you know who they should definitely bring back? Admiral Akbar. Get him on board. I love everything about him. I love his weirdy fish head, I love his catchphrase, and I love the way he says magnitude. Magnitude? Get him back. Contradictory to that, you can bring back anyone if it makes sense in the context of the story. There was a rumor floating around recently that Darth Vader would make a reappearance in some form in the new trilogy. Upon initial thought, that sounds utterly ridiculous. Makes no sense. Not only is he dead, his body turned to ash on the forest moon of Endor, but he also became a decent human being in the end. Sure, it was to save his own son. I mean, would he have choked this guy to death if he was his son? Would he have blown up Alderaan if his son was the president of all? Anyways, bringing him back would be nonsensical, but with some tight writing, anyone could conceivably return. They could say have a man appear who's adopted the Darth Vader mantle, claiming to be the same Vader who struck fear across the galaxy decades ago. Luke would obviously say that's impossible, but maybe not everyone would believe him. After all, he was the only one that saw him die, people may say, and Vader came back from the brink of death once. Perhaps it could be him again. Yes, again, that is a poorly thought out idea off the top of my head, but the point is, anyone can be brought back if it's done right. Except for saying someone's a clone. If they were just like, hey, remember Yoda? Well, here's a clone of Yoda. Yoda's back. Everyone say hello to new Yoda. Oh, by the way, we made him blue also, because why not? We can. Everything's possible with cloning. You're welcome. If you just keep bringing people back, then death has no consequence in this universe. Sorry, this is supposed to be the Jabba's Palace theme. Yeah, I kind of used up all the good songs I know in part 1. As most people are probably aware, Harrison Ford was a somewhat reluctant participant in the Star Wars franchise. He was unsure if he was going to return after Empire Strikes Back, hence the frozen in carbonite scene. And he wanted his character dead by the end of Return of the Jedi to give that movie more weight.
I thought he should have died in the last one, just to give it some bottom, some...
Did that not go over well with George Lucas?
George didn't think there was any future in dead Han toys.
To give the new trilogy some weight of its own, it would be ideal if a major character was killed off from the original trilogy. Something like this was sort of attempted in episode 1, where a character of apparent significance was skewered for being boring and wrong.
His fate is uncertain. He's not dangerous.
Yeah, I'm out of songs. I mean, I tried the Jabba's Palace thing in the last one, so, you know, I'm just gonna press on. When making this character death, why not just make it Han Solo? Realistically, Harrison Ford would be taking a backseat to the new cast anyway, so why not give the audience a reason to hate whomever the new antagonist is by having him kill off one of the most beloved movie characters of all time? The expanded universe is notoriously protective of the original trilogy characters, to the detriment of the stories. Luke, Han, and Leia continue to adventure well into their 60s and 70s, while second-tier characters drop dead all around them. The closest thing the expanded universe has come to killing off someone major is Chewbacca, a character of so apparent little importance, he didn't even get a medal after he helped Luke blow up the Death Star. So for God's sake, Disney, kill someone, but not Akbar. Do not kill Akbar. Dun 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 dun. The original trilogy is great because it's filled with what feels like real, relatable people. Whereas conversely, all the prequel characters are weird asexual monks and politicians. Which is fine, they both cover vastly different eras in the Star Wars universe. But Star Wars works best when it strikes a balance between the real-worldy people and the fantastical type characters. What you really need, for lack of a better example, is a Han Solo type guy. So when someone says something like this,
And you're a much wiser man than I am. I foresee you will become a great Jedi Knight.
that person can go, can you shut up? You need the cynicism to balance out all the talk of justice and magic and prophecies. This person doesn't even need to be a smuggler or a pirate or whatever. You could just create a Jedi character with a more realistic view of the universe. Na 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 na. Na 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 na, Iron Man theme. Another obvious one this, but a simplified story would just be phenomenal. The original story makes sense. There's a whole lot of bad guys led by the two baddest guys. They want to ruin everyone's fun by exploding planets, shooting lightning, and just being dicks. So they need to be stopped. Cue these guys. Everyone gets that. What's not to get? The prequels are something like, okay, so there's these guys, and they're bad guys, sort of. And they want to stop trade happening on this one planet. But they're working for this other guy who wants to be the head of the floating circles room. And he has this rotating roster of other helpers working for him. And they secretly create some clones to fight the robots. But they also created the robots. But at the same time, this guy who was also this guy wants this guy to work for him. And it's just, what is happening? All I'm saying is the simpler the story and the clearer the motivations, the better. At the end of the day, it's about looking at what works in Star Wars and what doesn't. The prequels are not entirely without merit, just in the same way as the originals aren't flawless. It's really about looking at what people love about these movies at their core and building on from that. And you know what? At the same time, it wouldn't hurt to take some chances. Try something different. Nothing good can come from pandering to your fans or playing it safe. The universally loved and best sequels take chances, as opposed to just being retreads. Everything said here is obviously one irrelevant person's opinions. Everyone has their own ideas on what would make a good Star Wars movie. So why don't you share your thoughts? Leave a comment or contact me on the Twitter at Mr. Sunday Movies. I'd be genuinely interested to know what you would like to see in any and all of the upcoming films. And if you disagree with me, all the better. I love hearing all sorts of different opinions. Thanks for watching, everyone. May the Force, I'm not saying that.